Hey everyone, what's up? This is Simon from DevTactic. Today I will show you how to build an Ionic to-do app using the backend service called Backend. And if you're not familiar with this tool, what it does is it's a powerful backend-as-a-service for AngularJS, and it supports Ionic quite good. You can connect your own mysql database or simply specify a database model using JSON. And let's dig right into it. So create an account on backend.com. This is completely free for now, as this is, I think, not completely released by now, but it's also very good already. So go ahead and create your account and create a new app with the title and name you choose. I already have my app here, so let's go to Manage App. Alright, I have already had some requests and some stuff like this. So what we need to do first of all is create our database model. And for this, go to Objects Model and to the model JSON. So currently you should have some other stuff in this field, but we just want to have a name field to-dos, and inside we want to have a table to-dos, and inside we have only one field, which is the name, and this is the type string. So we can have as many to-dos as we want. Make sure to validate and update these settings, and once you're done, what we also need to do is go to security and your configuration, and make sure at this point you have anonymous access enabled, because for this tutorial we will just use anonymous access, so we don't need to perform any social login, because we have this anonymous token for our app, which we will paste in later. So if you have this ready, go to your command line and create a new blank Ionic app, and let's wait for this to happen. So some more words: you can create really great apps using this. You can add social auth, you can add teams, you can use third-party integrations like PayPal and use their services. And well, I haven't wait a second. No, not by now. So I haven't used everything of the service by now, but what I've seen so far is really great. So why not play around with this cool framework? Alright, the first thing we need to do is go to our index.html and add the script for our backend. And for this, you can simply use the CDN file for backend, and you don't need to do any more inside the index. So go to your app.js, and what we need to do is, after Ionic, we need to also inject the dependency for backend. Now we might just, or we can remove this stuff for now. But what we need is a config phase for our AngularJS app. And inside this config, we have a function using the backend provider, because we need to configure our backend provider. So first of all, say set app name, and this is the name of your app. For me, this is DevTactic to do. Alright, and what we also need to do is we need to set our anonymous token, and again, for you, this is your token. Alright, so now our app is already configured to use backend as the backend, and we can go ahead and create our controller. So this will be a very straightforward example. we just need the scope, and we will have a to-do service, which we can, well, we could already create it below and call this one to-do service, just like this. Well, leave it for now. Alright, so back to our controller. We will obviously have an array of to-dos, which is empty in the beginning. And we also will have an input field to add new to-dos, which is an object, so we can use ngModel on our input in the view. Alright, the main function we will use all the time is get all to-dos. And this will get obviously all to-dos. Let's implement the basic. First of all, we will have a scope function add to-do, which will add a to-do obviously. And what we also need is a function called delete to-do, using a specific ID to delete a to-do. First, as we have these, let's jump to our to-do service so we can use the real service. So our service is, as I said, quite simply, we need the HTTP, and again we need backend. Inside our service we should specify a base URL, and this base URL points to /1/objects. So this is standard all the time on backend, and we use this because, well, it won't change. But the object name might change, and for me this is to-dos. So why is this to-dos? When we go back to our model, we see that our database model was called to-dos, or this table was called to-dos. So this is the endpoint we want to access. Alright, let's make this a bit smaller and this a bit bigger. Alright, so we have this, but we need some more basic functions. So to get a generic URL, we need the backend.get API URL, and this comes from backend and will just give us the first part of the URL. The second part is the base URL, and the third part is our object name. Alright, so this is the general URL for all of our calls. Right, we also need, second function, which will just be used inside our service, which is get URL for ID, because we might have a special ID like when we delete to-dos. So we return get URL plus ID. Alright, now to the real functions. So the first one is get to-dos, and this is just a simple function which returns HTTP get, and we use our get URL. I hope you can follow me. So this will make a basic get request to the to-dos endpoint. So this will give us all the data of this database. Okay, next one, add to-do. Add to-do again is pretty straightforward. HTTP, and this time it's a post request to get URL and the to-do. Oh, sorry. We obviously have to add a to-do. We need the to-do object. So we just make a post request to our generic URL and add the to-do. The last one is delete to-do. And for this we need an ID of the object we want to delete. And we don't have to return anything here, but it's good to see that our request is finished. And what we do is we make an HTTP delete request to now get URL for ID. because we need the URL for this specific ID of the object. Alright, that's already our service. Make sure to return all the stuff we have here. So now, oh, come on. I'm a bit lazy again, but yes, and finally delete to do. So this is our complete service, and as you can see, we just have those two functions which give us access to our database, and from then on we can use the standard get, post, or delete, create methods. Update we could use as well, but we don't need update for this simple example. Alright, so let's get back to our app controller, and inside the get all to-dos, well, one more thing. Make sure to call get all to-dos at the end of your controller, because this is where we load our to-dos, and we need it to call it initially once we launch our app. So inside get all to-dos, the only thing we need to do now is say to-do service get to-dos. And once this is finished, we hopefully get a result, and this result is hopefully our to-do array. So you have to access the object data.data. You can inspect the you can inspect the result object if you like to, but you can also trust me because I have tried this. Alright, next one, we want to add a to-do, and at this point we use our scope input object, and again we have a completion block with a result. No error handling in this little app to make it really simple. This is just to update our input field so it's empty again. And what I don't really like is that we now have to again call get all to-dos. So I have used Firebase before, and this uses broadcast messages, and so you can connect or listen to on update messages. This is a bit cooler than all the time calling get all to-dos once something has changed, but for now it's okay. And as far as I know, they also have an implementation using Socket.io, so you might be able to also listen to those broadcast messages. But for now, let's keep it like this, and let's go to our delete to do function, which we'll just call delete to do with the ID. And again, we have our completion block. Which will again call get all to-dos because we have deleted a to-do and we need to update this. We could also delete it from our local list, but I'm not really a fan of doing this because the action might have not been performed on the server, and so you delete the local to-do, but it's still on the server. So I just want to be synchronized and make sure to have the same array as the server database has. So just call this. Alright, so this is our controller stuff, and I think we are already done with this. So let's go back to our index and craft a little view for it. So let's remove everything inside the body and assign our ng controller to the body, which is the app controller. Well, to make it look a bit cooler, we use a header bar. So we want to be positive today. This should be ion header bar close. And inside the bar, let's just say, no, not called, but class like equals title. Alright, so this is my backend to-do list. Okay, so we got our header bar. Now let's move on to the content section of our view, and let's give it a class hasHeader, so nothing is below our header bar. Inside the Ion content, we first of all have an item input insert. So we need this to insert new to-dos and make it look good. Inside we have a label. The class is item input wrapper, and inside the label we just have an input field of the type text. The placeholder can be, well, new to do, and make sure to assign it to our ng model, and this will be input.name. So this is quite important because the object we send to the server needs to be an object and have the key name, as this is the only field in our database. So this is quite important to be exactly like this. Alright, the label is closed, and below the label we also add a button with some cool styling. Let's make it balanced, and this needs to be a small button on the side. So the ng click event for this button is simply calling add to do, and make sure to say add to do for the button. Oh, come on. Yeah, well, leave it like this. Alright, close the button, close the div. Now finally we come to our Ion list, which will display our to-dos. So we want to be able to delete to-dos, so we activate can swipe true. So we can just swipe our elements to the left side and have a delete button on them. Inside our Ion list we have Ion items, and we use an ng repeat to go over all of the items in our to-dos array. Yes, okay. And we just use item.name, which is the name of the to-do. And we use an Ion option button. Yeah, like this. And we should make this button red color, so assertive. And the ng click for event for this, you get it. It's obviously delete to do. And at this point we pass item.id. So when we get the array back from the server, the object will all the time have a name and the ID. So we can use this ID to remove our delete the to-do, but at this point I just want to say delete. Thank you, code completion. And make sure to close your tag. Alright, so hopefully this is it. Let's give it a try. Let's use Safari. Alright, so here's our to-do list, and make it a bit smaller so it looks like a device. So this is my first to-do. Maybe it works. Yeah, I thought so. So things never work on the first try. So it's a good time to open our debugging area. Alright, so I finally found the shortcuts. It was disabled on my new iMac. So let's see what the error is. And okay, so we cannot make, okay, so this looks already wrong. And let's make this a bit smaller. Go to your app.js again and we see that after objects we need to have another slash, or you could put it before to-dos, whatever you like. And also we need one behind this, I think. So save it, and you see we already have the two to-dos we added previously. So now I can close this, and my first real to-do, we add the to-do and it's in the list. So we should be able to swipe this to the side. We click delete, and the to-do is deleted. Alright, so this works pretty great. Oh, we are already inside Safari. I forgot. So let's go back. I think it was under REST API Playground. And this is the place where you can test with your API. And this is get a list of items. And well, let's give it a try. We don't need anything else. So this is the generic get method we make to our to-dos. And let's see. This is the response body we get. So we got .data, and here is the ID, or this is the ID again, and the name. So this is one object, and this is the second one. So I'm not sure what this does. Alright, so yeah, we could get a list and pagination, but this is just to show you how you could also test your object. Alright, so this tutorial was about creating a simple to-do list using Backend and the Ionic framework. And if you have any questions, please leave me a comment, and make sure to follow my channel for more great Ionic tutorials or advice on how to build great apps.